Hello, hello, hello all from the good people from the reasoning. Hello and happy Sunday to you all. So today we are going to be talking about the topic that we put out there that you, the viewers, have chosen, and that is it's knife and gun crime in the communities. You know, it's quite a heavy subject to talk about on a Sunday, and before we start, as we do, I'm going to introduce our lovely new cast member and the old ones. So,
I am B, spoken word poet, MC, wellbeing facilitator, and yeah, I'm excited to be here. So let's get it popping.
And our lovely
Terry, regular.
Justin as usual.
Hi, Jazz. Tiger Strikes Witness. Got two Jazzes.
yeah, we've got Jazz and Jazz. And I am your Empress Krista. So, as I'm saying, today we're going to talk about knife crimes and gun crimes, not just only in our communities, but as we are urban community-based people, we're going to be speaking from our perspective in and around what we see, what we know, and how we feel. Again, we're not professionals, so everything we're saying, there's no statistics, we're just speaking on personal opinions and preference. And as we do, we go for the newest lovely member first. So I am B, let's go. So actually what I will say first, what I want to base this whole conversation around is, you know, how important we feel our perspectives is toward the knife and gun crime as older people in the communities.
Did you just call us older people?
Oh, well, we're older. We're older.
Oh my
we're
God.
older.
It's happening.
And I, you know, and I will
Young elders, young elders.
Yeah, thank
right,
you,
we'll go
thank
there.
you.
And
Love
I
that.
want this to be as open and honest and as vulnerable as we can possibly be, so we can, you know, resonate with as much people, younger, older, slightly younger, just so we can, you know, hopefully, you know, resonate with somebody on this heavy topic. So yeah, as I said, newest cast member.
Where would you like me to start?
Anywhere you feel to.
Anywhere I feel to. Interesting. Okay, so gun and knife crime. First and foremost, what do you consider as a gun or knife crime? Would be a great definition.
That actually is, yeah. So I feel like, you know, aggravated assault maybe. I feel like what they would say is this war. I have to quote unquote war. So it would be like, you know, kids fighting over, you know, the postcode stuff. And those who don't know what that is, different areas, you know, having restrictions on where somebody can go. That's my take on it. And, you know, yeah. What else?
No, I think gun and knife crime is called crime because you're committing a crime.
Having a weapon.
So it comes into that. Yes, but not have. You can have a weapon, and for it not to be illegal, you can have, like in this country, you can have licensed shotguns.
In this country?
In this country, you can have a licensed shotgun, but majority it's farmers that have those things because they can kill their foxes. But it's just showing you that in this country you can actually have legal firearms. It becomes criminal. It becomes a crime when you actually.
It's your intent.
No, but if you own it, if you haven't got a license to own it, well then you haven't got it in the right way. And then if you use it doing something bad, obviously stabbing somebody, shooting somebody else, then it becomes a crime. So that's what brings it into that whole category.
Okay.
And even on that, I sort of like a lot of things on perspective. And yeah, everything to do that is to do with perspective. I mean, if there are, like, even down to personal safety, if people feel like I have to roll with a knife or a gun because of safety, is that a crime to protect one's life? Is there a survival instinct?
I'm going to cancel that because that was a big yes.
Like, do you know what I mean? What is the value of life? What do you put on the value of life? And if it's in a situation where people are in stress response all the time, then of course, like, if you want to live, like, breath is the most important thing. We want to live. Now, is that then a crime because someone takes someone else's life out in self-defense? But then you have the same thing, what's going on within our communities, but you have things going on in Palestine, all around the world. People are getting killed left, right and centre. But what? Because, like, I respect any armed forces that's going out and doing their thing, like serving the country and all sorts. But at what point do things become a crime over there, similar to over here, because people are protecting themselves or trying to live? But then, yeah.
No, it is. Yeah, it's the catch-22 of what is it right because it's there, or is it wrong because we're doing it?
Well, I don't think ending anybody's life or maiming anyone is ever right. Yeah. And when we justify it to ourselves, like, it might be out of defense, but again, it's more about the situation and what has created that situation and what has created that environment, and how can we go about making the environment less like that for future generations. Because one thing that I do know is where my family are from, those things are prevalent because people are very, very hungry, so it's survival. But here I've grown up with a benefit system. I've never had a hungry day in my life, so I don't know about that kind of survival.
Can I just interject? I'm so sorry. Survival, that word there. Growing up in my community, I can feel like a lot of members of where I live would say that their survival instinct in the way they grew. Generational. It has to be generational. We wouldn't be able to.
But what about it? What about the generation? Yeah, what was it that you heard and saw and thought, okay, this is normal?
I grew up in riots. I seen riots. I seen buildings getting burnt down. We seen shooting. We seen stabbing. Did it feel right for me to watch that? No. Did I feel like that was okay? No. Do I carry weapons? No.
Were you ever given any counselling or any kind of looking after?
No.
Did our counsel?
Remember our show last week? Our trauma. We judge, we jury, we counsel ourselves. Do you understand what I mean? And I feel like a lot of it, the mentality for people who actually use a knife or use a gun, it's in point. I feel it's a survival mechanism.
You know, you're right, it is a survival, but do you know what, I don't think everybody that carries even a gun or a knife is going out with the intention to even kill somebody. It's sometimes for, like what you said, just your own protection, because you want to know that if somebody maybe pulls out a knife on you, then you've got something to pull out and you can just protect yourself.
But what if they retract it on themselves? Then what if someone takes that weapon and then...
Well, it's happened already where children, while young youths have been chasing other people and they've fallen over and landed on their own weapons that are hidden away. Do you understand? It happens all the time. But differently, we have to, I think, our problem is, like what I was trying to say last week, we know our communities normalise the behaviour.
Yeah, and that's what Jazz was trying to
It's very, the level, sometimes you have to think about it, because you were talking about counselling, but the level of violence is normalised. And this is why sometimes I think where some of the people in these communities can just easily carry a knife. Because it's so normal. It's just like grabbing my phone. Oh, let me grab my knife as well because I just might see this person. And they don't want to fight no more. Some of these children, some of these youngers, they don't want to fight. I've seen some of these youngers get punched in the face and they ran off to go and get a weapon. They're not even fighting no more. And the guy will come back and stab somebody, but oh look what I've done to you, and it's not even...
And then video it instead of actually helping
the social media,
using
the social media,
They stand and they record it. That sickens me to my stomach.
Something's definitely changed.
No, I was just going to say the one recently in London. Was it London?
Which one?
I know, it's probably vague, but it was a young boy and just everyone just stood around filming him, and he got stabbed so many times and he was just left on the floor, but there was so much time in between it. I mean, even it happening, like I wouldn't have anything on me to even defend myself, but my instinct would be that's a human life. Like I need to protect that, and it baffles me that that doesn't take precedent over revenge or like getting people back, or even having to live a life where you feel you have to carry something. Is that living? Because you're constantly predicting that something's going to happen to you to a point where you're going to need to draw out your knife, draw out whatever weapon you've got, and that can't be a life either.
You know, I think sometimes, where does it kind of stop? Because look, we say that we're trying to protect ourselves. Some of these youths are trying to protect themselves, carrying weapons. Now, they don't want to use them against other people, and it's a crime. But then when you think about the bigger picture, like the army and the police, when they really want to control a situation, what do? They draw their guns and they start shooting people and killing people. So I think even when these people are telling us not to do these things, and then when you look at them, they're kind of contradicting themselves because they're doing exactly the same things.
What I say, like what do what I do.
Just like what you were saying in Palestine.
And then the message gets bundled up, and it's who do we listen to? Do we listen to ourselves, or do we listen?
If like that's part of the thing. Like the most prominent like navigation system someone has in yourself, like, and that's been the biggest disconnect. And another big disconnect from my perspective personally is the illusion of separation. Like there's 5 people here talking, but there's only one of us in general. That's from my perspective.
We're all one.
And yeah, literally. And from that perspective as well, like what does safety mean to a human being? Even if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is the first thing to be able to feel safe. And if we're in an environment where it's grouping together, you got the man them, you got the girls, this, that and the other, and you want to feel safe, that's people walk out of the door and they just want to feel safe, go about their lives on a daily basis, and ultimately you don't just want to have to live a life to just for the sake of it. Like life is literally the most
amazing experience.
Is literally the most beautiful gift that we have, but it's often overlooked. But then at the same time, if you're backed into a corner and things need to happen, like that's the part where your reptilian brain kicks in, and you're gonna do what you have to do to survive. And the whole prominent thing around that is we are, from my perspective again, in a system whereby every message that we are given left, right and centre is to be in a fear state. Scared of this is going to come at you, that's going to come at you, so and so is going to kill you, and this, that and the other. And if you feel like you're not safe, even within different diverse communities, if someone has been stabbed, shot, hurt and all sorts, and granted there are like good police officers, so to speak, there are people that are doing good work, so to speak, but in context of in communities, if something happens and you're calling up an ambulance or this, that and the other, and violence has happened in the same place, people are not going to rush there. It's like crying wolf. So at what point do we then, what is our responsibility? How do we have the ability to respond to what's going on in our communities, and how can we provide spaces where people can be safe, can have these communications and dialogues?
That's a question. Can I just ask everyone, just raise your hand if there's 2 questions I'm going to ask. Have you and do you feel safe in your community?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I don't. I don't feel safe in my community now. Especially now I'm older. And I'll explain why. So, in your younger life, because we were all younger when you were with your parents, do you feel safer then than you do now?
No.
Say that again?
So when you were younger, when you lived with your parents, in your younger life where you were cared for, did you feel safer? Because you go park and you run. Did you feel safer in that space when you think back then, or do you feel safer in your adult life?
I feel safer in my ability to respond to things, to what environments I'm in, as opposed to what environments are around me.
Okay.
So I feel safer in myself as a human being, as opposed to environments change. I mean, you could be in the nicest area at points, and then someone could come up and put a madness on you. You never know. Like things can come from left field. So for myself, I feel like I've grown to a level of safety and understanding of who I am and can respond to situations, as opposed to like environments.
I reckon that safety net what you're talking about was mum. It was home. Do you understand? Like just like with my kids, once they're with me, they feel safe. They're with daddy, and that's where. So you have to get that. You have to find the comfortableness within yourself.
So what do you do when your parents didn't make you feel safe?
No, what?
No, because this is my situation.
Okay,
so what I'm dealing with now, okay, so I love my mum and dad, but growing up was scary. And I've lived my whole life in an ego because I've been defending myself my whole life.
Was that involving knife or gun crime up there? Or was it more so...
No, it was domestic violence.
Okay.
So there was a time when I was a kid that I carried a knife for a little bit because I had a bit of racism and I was out there in Yate, but it was to make me feel tough.
So when you had that knife, what was your intention?
My intention
just
was...
say something happened, do you think you would ever have had the ability to... Not even the ability, but just...
ever since I was a little girl...
To use it.
I was so ready for a beating or a bollocking or getting on a plane and being sent back, and I've always been extremely extreme. So there was a time when it was like if somebody touched me, because I was afraid of getting beaten up. So if someone had beaten me up, yes, I would have just done whatever. Because like I said to you, if I drove a car when I was 17, I probably would have wrapped it around the tree quick. Because I was trying to escape my life from childhood.
So
I was trying to escape.
Stop you there. How do you think, because we're working on perspective here, how these kids and adults feel when they are carrying weapons now with intentions to probably use them because they may not feel safe.
No, but before she answered, this is the difference. When she grew up, she had a fear of getting beaten up. These kids got a fear of getting stabbed. See the difference? When we were a bit younger, we was using fisticuffs.
Yeah.
You might beat somebody up. These kids nowadays, like what you said, they're running over about 6 of them and they're all stabbing you.
And what is teaching them? Is it the music videos? Is it the films? Is it the video games that's making this like really, really normal? Because there's something's changed where children have got these ideas, whereas for when we were kids,
I think a lot of things glorify carrying weapons. You know, it looks cool to swing a knife because you look hard.
But why does it look cool?
Feel like you need to look hard?
No, but why does it look cool? And who said it looks cool?
But it's not. I don't just say media because that is literally pinpointing and being hard on what you see out there. But it is what goes on around you. We all did get it from somewhere, but unfortunately, I think it started before us.
Yeah,
it's cool within that lifestyle. That's what it is. The lifestyle, it comes with carrying a weapon. When you're living that type of that bravado, Mr. I'm the big I am, and if you want to try and mess with me, watch what happens type of thing.
It comes back to safety, and a lot of things. If we're going to take it on an energetic perspective, can we all agree that everything is energy? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Everything has a masculine energy, which is forward, destruction, and feminine energy, which is creation and moving forward.
Yeah.
With an absence of having embodied masculine figures and eldership throughout like people's lifestyle, that comes back to ancestral trauma.
And
everyone's got ancestral traumas from a place of babies raising babies, even post-war in the UK. The fact of like British colonialism, how everything is all intertwined. This level of safety from people all over the world, like feeling like they want to be safe in this country, in their own countries. So it comes back to like, for me, safety. Like, how can we then feel safe without having to carry things, and also this from this perspective of energy as well. Like, if the law of thermodynamics states that everything is energy changes form. Okay, so with that,
the law of what?
Thermodynamics.
Just in case you never heard.
Which states that like every energy can either be built nor destroyed. It changes form.
Yeah.
So granted, when I am no longer in this flesh suit, like energy will just be recycled. Us in this day and age have such a fear of death. Such a fear of death.
Death is
but
freedom.
But for in different cultures, death is another part of life.
Yeah,
but you know what? I don't. What you just said that everyone fears death. Me personally, I don't fear death. Death comes to us all. But I am a bit scared of dying. Because I don't know how I'm going to die. Death comes to us all, but I'm a bit...
It's the way, isn't it?
Do you understand?
Really nice.
And
I don't want to be stabbed, and I don't want to be shot.
But then I don't want to have long illness of cancer or something like that either. Like, when I think of illness and pain...
I just feel like it's natural, and I'm a great believer of whatever is supposed to be for you, regardless of the situation, it will be yours. And I know that may not sound okay to some people, but that's how I believe it.
No, but it is.
Sticking to the literal, the violence of it. I don't want anyone to burgle my house and me defend my house and me be hurt because of it. I don't want anyone to see me on the street and you know that unnecessary, oh, you stepped on my toe, man, and what like now no one's punching in the face, they're pulling out something, even girls. Do you know how many times I've been walking down the road and a girl bounced me and I'm like,
I ain't saying nothing.
And I'm like, Bristol, just keep it moving. And I'm not,
not like that.
a quote unquote, I'm not going to be bullied, but is it worth me trying to defend myself because someone bounced into me?
But what you're saying about the level of how you can defend yourself, you're saying if somebody comes into your house, can you remember not too long ago when the farmer got burgled? And he got burgled and he caught the guy running out of his house and he grabbed his shotgun and as the guy was jumping over the wall, he shot him in the back.
And because he wasn't actually on his land.
Because he was running away from him. The farmer ended up I think got about 5-6 years in prison. But it's because he shot him in his back.
Yeah.
He was running away from him. So would you say that it's okay for him to do that? Because he said he was protecting his property.
The man
The
was
thing
running
is,
away.
what I will say is, I feel like everyone's perception on what is okay and what is not is different. Just like the reasoning between people carrying weapons and us not. I don't think unless we're a weapon carrier, we're going to understand the psychological reasons why they do that, and vice versa.
But thing is, I'm not. I don't think. Okay, this is going to sound really controversial. I don't think there is a right or a wrong. Everybody is doing what they are doing.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Everybody is working from the perception that they are at.
Yeah.
Yeah? And so it's not for me to judge someone. I wouldn't look at someone who carries and think, oh, you're a really bad person. I would think to myself, shit, I'm so sorry that you feel like you have to. I hope that can change.
But you don't think it would be wrong that they're carrying that?
No, because if they feel afraid and they feel like that is what might save their life, who am I to... I can't say it's right or wrong. I'm not the judge, because in our lives we're all living. Yeah, we've all got this life in our body, and whatever we do is whatever we do. Yeah.
And to also go on what you said before. I mean, there was times when I was younger when I used to carry a blade as well, and that was for fear of safety, because I felt that at points there were people I had around me, but if there were points where I got into shit, who would actually have my back? And that's down to a fact of like, fuck, okay, cool, if I can't defend myself, like what can I do, and how would I be able to? The older I've got, then you know what, if situations need to happen and it needs to bang fist, then it needs to bang fist. But for myself, in this place that I am in now, personally, for my safety, I would rather end up looking like, oh, he's a pussy, backs out, than to get into an unnecessary altercation. I'd be like, cool, if you're on a madness, calm, like whatever, like, because as you so rightly said, what is my time and energy worth? Someone bumping me, like scuffing up my trainer, for what? I know it can be a big thing, a level of disrespect, but that again comes down to safety, how someone feels secure in themselves. And we're all a byproduct and accumulation of all of our trauma in our life. So for all I know, someone could have had a really, really bad day, scuff someone's shoe, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it's not necessarily, again, a right or wrong thing, it's a circumstance. We have the choice to be able to react. There is a point between reaction and response. That's why I say we have a responsibility, but a response ability in order to choose. And everyone's choice is different. Everyone's choice is different.
Yeah.
So what I want to do quickly is I want to bring it back to a conversation that we had. It was a private conversation between a group of people earlier on today, and it was briefly about the difference in why people carry weapons and why they didn't. And some were very strong about the reasons why they felt they had to. And someone was saying, I don't understand. So he was very well articulating himself and trying to make people understand the reason why he felt like he had to. And what was shocking for me was was perception, what he was perceived to be and what people thought he was about, why he felt, again, safety. Your company, the company you keep, you can have a company that you walk around with, and sometimes they have issues. And once you're seen with that person, there is automatically your problem.
You're guilty by association.
Tell me, Kerry, is that okay? Like, I think it's the worst.
Wow.
And a lot of, like, the way I grew up, I think the way Just grew up, and Kerry, like, you're around, so I know you see, we all have our, what we've seen in the way, but in St. Paul's, Easton, in these very small urban communities where everyone knows each other, it was sink or swim. It was. Even for girls. I was lucky I didn't grow up fighting. I seen girls getting their head taken out, like, by each other. I seen the boys from the different area codes. They were hurting each other. Now, they are killing each other. There is a difference. They were hurting each other back in the day. They are killing each other now. And for me to watch that through generations, even having my own child, I'm like, is he carrying a weapon? What is his mentality behind? Because sometimes these kids and some people haven't even been through it, but they feel like because they're in these areas, if they then go out, it will be them So they feel like they need to carry something
I don't
to.
even think it's locked down to these areas anymore because
No.
you can turn on
That's
BBC
true.
One Extra
Yeah.
at 10:30 in the morning and it's got somebody talking about chinging somebody,
Yeah.
and this is on mainstream radio.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
what chinging meant till today.
Well, chinging means stabbing for somebody that don't know.
I
But
didn't.
there's talking about, you got Fredo complete. He's always on the radio talking about, I got trap houses out of town and I'm sending the youngers. So there is little kids that's not even grown up in that type of lifestyle that are hearing this stuff, and then they are
Media.
they're glorifying it themselves.
And do you know what? Like
Media is poison.
The word media, like that is actually a goddess of illusion. That's where media comes from. Like, so if you think
What religion is
about,
that in?
I believe it's from not necessarily a religion, but like a Greek root.
Okay, like
don't
Greek
quote me
mythology.
on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Medea.
part, yeah. There you go.
Medea, but not like all sorts of meanings from that. But yeah, I mean, it's the illusion, isn't it? Because look, as a young Asian girl, my perception, I grew up watching Bollywood films, and I was saying to Jas earlier, and my mum broke it down for me. Look, it's not all running in fields and like wearing gold all the time. Yeah, you got to work. They're gonna take about 6 babies from you. Yeah, you might run in the field for like the first 6 months of your marriage, and then that's over. You're going to be making roti and cooking rice. You better know. So you know, I could have watched this film and been like, a lot of my friends and a lot of my cousins and stuff. You know, they've watched that and they're living this like life that they've seen in the movies, but they're trying to fulfill that. Some of them are not happy. They're trying to fulfill an ideal, like, okay, this is who I... Okay, here's me, I'm an Asian girl in England. How do I need to act to be Asian? Right, okay, let me watch Indian films. Okay, now I'm going to behave like this. Is there an element of that going on?
There's a big element of facade, I feel. A big element of facade. Because again, you have to carry a knife and whip it out on Snapchat. Yeah. Everyone's around them going, what are you cheering for?
No, but not even the knife. Think about what she just said about the films she was watching. And she was watching women in that dancing around in films. What are we... The films
what are we watching?
We type of films we watch.
What do you feel?
Guns.
Yeah.
Julian and Top Boy, all these,
yeah.
it's normalising for all of the youngsters. It normalises this type of lifestyle.
Go on.
I know I get the normalising part, but do you not think like films like Top Boy, for example, like to some people that would be a lesson?
Some.
Because that's
It
the
could be.
standard.
I think
That's
to
where the
more.
difference is.
I think to more. It's more like
That's
what we do every day.
This is what I feel like you're trying to say, innit?
Yeah,
But the thing is, then there's
There's
people
two
like me who's
sides.
like, oh my god, that's Asher D, right? So, you know,
I think on the Top Boy perspective, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to show people that are not like us that this does go on, the pressures behind it, and try to make them realise on their perspective how it might be.
So do you think people from outside the community might watch that and think, oh wow, like I never saw it like that? But people from inside the community would be like, come on.
Can
A
I just ask? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
People from outside of the community, if you do watch the show, please send in your comments.
Let us know.
Let us know how you feel about the whole knife and gun crimes, and let us know your perspective on how you feel about it, because we're speaking about from inner city children and adults, and this is our perspective from here. So if you've got a really good perspective, please send it in.
Outside looking in.
I'll throw a slight curveball in as well about like everything that is part and parcel of our day-to-day lives around narrative, around story, comes back to the point of voice.
Yeah.
Being able to speak about voice. So in certain things in trap music and all sorts, like it's an insight to share people's stories, whether things they've done.
Yeah.
And would you rather be hurt by the truth or be comforted by a lie?
Yeah.
So if people are telling their stories, like where it may not resonate with people talking about all sorts of madness, if these same brothers have done these experiences, had these experiences, and been able to move from it, calm.
Because I think going off of what you're saying, they are making people learn through the errors that they've made, and they're putting it into something to show you. So they're compilating what they've done, obviously watering it down, and then saying, right, this is what we're doing, and don't do this because this is going to be the outcome of it. And sometimes you do have to learn from watching people. Like sometimes you have to see the error. Sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna go off of that. Like, you do have people in the community, even like the music industry, that have spoken out about their experiences and their real life, what they've gone through, how they've been raised, what they've experienced, time they've spent in prison. And it's like, it's unfortunate that there's a crowd that will see that, and you probably have more than half that are, okay, I'm inspired by that, not because I want to make the difference and I don't want to follow that lifestyle, I want to hear what you're saying and take the lesson. It's, I'm inspired, I want to live that life.
Yes.
But then they'll then have their own story. They'll get their version of what they see. Because the same way, like, I feel it's personally like mad to be like all this stuff about banning drill music and all sorts. Like, why? Like, some of the like substance and message, again, it's from people's perspective, stuff they've talked about, but at the same time, the energy of that music, the way it brings people together. If you can be in a place where people are vibing, and drill brings energy. They said about grime, and a grime over 10 years ago, and look, so many artists have done amazing things moving from grime, even hip hop, gangster rap, like, and you're seeing like Ice-T going from being one of the hardest gangster rappers to being like in a police show.
But
so it's just like.
But the thing is, even though Ice-T did that and Ice-T made it, what was his influence and what was the rippling effect of the kids who wanted to live that life?
But it is choice, though, I believe.
It is choice.
Because look at, like, I watched a documentary on Digga D. Digga D is one of the youngest and most influential, in my perspective. You know, he's famous, hood famous, I think, as a medium. He's and famous. When I watched the documentary, I felt sad. Digga didn't choose the lifestyle. He didn't. He's like, but I have to defend myself. So what am I supposed to do? You know, he talks very openly about where he came from, but then there becomes this choice. He does try to stay out of trouble, but then he has to do music. And this was what was really good. This is when I know that kids sometimes, and adults, there are choices. You choose to be a certain way because, all right, he could not make music with anything to do with any form of violence, guns, drugs. He couldn't do any of that. So he had to write songs based around it all, without actually naming them out. And the police were watching every single video to make sure he didn't use any of that content. And he still made, is it Woo Boy Boy? And he still made It's Whatever. He made all, and they were bangers. So you can lyrically find yourself in a different mentality to talk about things that you've done and make it seem in a different light, to glorify it another way so it doesn't seem so harsh. And then, you know, there's ways of watering things down to not make...
Yeah, no, he's done good.
So kids can really, they take from it what they want. As parents, we can only teach people, and we were taught certain things.
And this is the thing with the whole there's no right or wrong, because we're living in the world that we're living in, and our kids are going to have what's around them, and it's for us to build their perception from a very, very young age, you know? So, like, what I've tried to do with my son is try to instill what I believe. Do you know what I mean? That he's got a brilliant life and that he doesn't have to do these things and these are choices. And do you know what I mean? Like, and that.
So what if he kept getting bullied? What if things were coming to him that weren't his choice? Then what would your message to him be?
Well, when he was younger, certain things did happen, and you know, I kind of let him know that, you know, when people bully you, it's usually because they're hurt, sweetheart.
Because see, and
I've been like that all my life, you know, because when I've always known that when people are horrible to me, it's usually because they got an issue with themselves.
That's very true.
Hurt people.
Hurt people. So when Sergeant got bullied when he was little, it only happened once or twice, because then he became the diplomat. Anytime anyone was horrible to him, he would ask them if they were okay.
And then that sometimes becomes really, really...
Are you alright? Like, is something up?
And then it can anger someone.
No, but it depends how you do it though, isn't it? He wasn't like that. He was more like, oh, this is, you know, he was a kid, isn't it? So he was like, oh, what's the matter? What's wrong? But
alright,
it's about making him able. I made him feel comfortable enough. Yes.
To understand different. No,
yes, because I don't want you, if someone's horrible to you, I don't want you going rah, rah, rah straight away.
So, alright. You now, or all of you, if somebody you love, because not everyone has children, came up to you and they were like, someone's doing this.
It depends what they're doing.
Alright, they just got beaten up. You know, they were on their own. Will you be quick? And we're not talking about us now because we're older, we've got more life experiences, we're not quick to jump.
I'd drive straight there and go and speak to the adults.
So that's what I would do. What would anybody else do? What would
now
be your response?
Or before?
Well, I was going to ask for both because I was going to give mine before.
Yeah, before
Because
it
the
would've
before
just-
me wouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
If my son came running in the house now and was like, Mum, this happened, I'm finding a weapon and
I
I'm
think-
running out there
I
with
think
it.
this is why I've been so careful about how I've raised Sarge, because I've known that if certain things happen, I will go ballistic. So how you behave is really, really important.
It is.
Son, because if you are going to act all victimized, I'm going to have to hurt people.
But
So you have to know that no one can victimize you.
But clap for you for being able to have the tools to react that way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, coming from where I come from, sometimes in my moment of madness, I have to then split my whole brain and be like, irrational Crystal and Crystal who knows better. Sometimes there isn't.
There is no split
always
sometimes. You just
split. You just react. And again, coming from my neighbourhood, there was no reaction
Time.
You just did.
Yeah.
And this is why a lot of people may not agree. I can understand the perspective of people that carry weapons to feel safe. I do. I'm not saying I agree with it because I don't.
Again, whether I agree or not is irrelevant because people are going to do whatever the hell they do.
No, it's definitely relevant, Jazz. I feel like it's relevant. I feel like we all have an opinion and our opinions are valid because we wouldn't want to be stabbed by a knife.
No. But the thing
But
is,
then
I'm
we're
not going
asking why are you carrying a knife? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one, yeah, because for me, if someone's carrying, I'm not going to know about it. I'm never going to know about it because I won't be acting in no way to ever.
You see when I'm getting in someone's car now, I'm like, who's got
Yeah, but you don't know what people got in nowadays.
Now I ask. I need to know.
Yeah, no.
Like even as little as because of the way we've grown up and the things I've seen, even now I'll be like, well, license.
Well, you're looking after
Like
your
when
life.
I get to, I'm
That's you
got
taking
license.
care of your life, and I say,
But not
pat on the back to
everyone
you.
values there.
Exactly,
Sometimes.
okay.
Do you know what I mean? We're all so different.
And this is the other thing, isn't it? Like, if you don't value your life, okay, so because I've asked myself loads of questions about whether I actually valued my life because I've thought about suicide so often, right? So for me, this was about escape, and when we're talking about death being actually paradise and everyone being afraid of it, I wasn't actually wanting to die. I just wanted to escape the bullshit.
Escapism is a big thing.
Yeah, but actually realizing that the bullshit, a lot of the bullshit is made and directed and built and executed in my brain.
Yeah.
Before I even do anything, I've gone and made a whole narrative for myself to make my own life hard. Yeah, and then I go and live it, and then I phone my friends about it and tell them how tough it was.
And that in itself is a whole mindset. Man.
That is a mindset.
It is
So you know when we're talking about the prefrontal cortex and then your limbic system is like, and then you've got your reticular activating system, and then you've got your amygdala. Our brains, human beings, are extremely complicated. So
Sorry, let me cut you. I'm gonna start putting these things in the in the stories for you guys to Google and search up for yourselves because a lot of them are good parts of your brain and they all work differently. And
when you
know,
talk about
coping
splitting
mechanisms and
yourself.
stuff. Yeah.
When you talk about splitting yourself, Crystal, that's exactly what we do. That is exactly what we do because we know here what is good for our life. But then here we're making up these narratives of how we should. Oh, I need to be perceived like this. I need to be like this because what will people say? And then you start going against your own self. Yeah, and when you start living like that, you do split yourself, and then you're not in congruence with yourself.
Yeah.
Your body and your mind and your heart and your brain. The things are all like they're not happy. It's like having a plant, yeah, and then the leaf is growing one way and the petals growing the other way. Nothing's growing right.
But that's what I genuinely believe that the reason why and behind the reason people carry knives, for safety, it's all coming from parts in their brains, whether it's coming from the traumas, whether it's coming from what they've seen, whether it's coming from the way they were grown. There is reasons
Of
behind
course.
both sides why you do and why you don't. And I completely agree with what you're saying because it all comes from somewhere or something, and a lot of people don't. They just think they're doing it because they're doing it. No, it's a deeper thing.
If we all remember that when we were born, we were absolutely helpless, couldn't move, couldn't feed ourselves, couldn't nothing at all. And this is what we've grown up into, yeah? We really remember what we were born as. Who really wants to carry a knife? Who really wants to be... Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody. Like, no one started that way. Nobody started that way. It would have been...
It's the state of the world. It's the state of the world that we're in.
The world
It's
that
the
we're
state
in.
of the world that we're in. You get me? Do you know what I want to see? I just asked the whole room. Has anybody in it like been directly affected by gun or knife crime? Like directly. from a family member or
friends and family. Yes.
And it's affected you in what type of way?
It's made me value the presence of people when they're here and they're around, certain situations to be in and not to be in, and value of choice. Like, I've utilised their lessons, and certain times where I was supposed to be, and also trusting gut instinct, there's certain times I was supposed to be somewhere and I was like, do you know what, like, instead of getting it, I'm going to walk, or I'm going to be this way, and then I find out so-and-so's house has been rushed, they've been stabbed, this, that and the other, and I was supposed to be there. And then there's these instances where I'm like, there's certain timings you can't explain, you don't know, but there's a deeper part of you that knows. And it comes back to even with like the thinking and the feeling part of things. Human beings are so accustomed to being the thinking, whereas like, this is Bruce Lipton's like fact, so to speak, that your brain processes 4,000 bits of information per second, which is great. But your body processes 4 trillion bits of information per second. So from us being able to have this like conversation, again, it's about 2 tablespoons worth of matter, right? And for all of that, all of the substance, all of the things that we have, there is a deep knowing that we want to be safe, we want to be in an environment that can help us grow, because if you're not growing, you're dying. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like, there was another point I was going to say.
Come on, I get touched you differently still.
But again, it touches us all so different. Like, what about you? What about yourself?
I think it's affected me in a few ways. I've had cousins. I've got family members now in prison. I've had family members shot and killed. And for me, it's kind of made me think of things in 2 different ways. One, I don't want to have to live that, keep on living, because like you just said, you used to carry whatever. I used to be in that same type of like lifestyle when I was younger. But as I've grown older and seen so much damage around me and seen so many people going, I'm talking about friends, not family. I'm talking about far away friends that don't even live in Bristol. And it's made me say to myself, you know what? Even if I feel unsafe to go somewhere, I still won't carry a weapon. Because deep down I know myself at the same time. Because I know I can be if I've got it on me if I've got it on me, I know I know what I can be like. So I've tried to just try my best to kind of leave it alone, but at the same time as well, because my boys are growing up, I don't want to be that guy that's telling my children, don't be doing that. And then they're seeing daddy on road with a gun or with a knife or over there with bare wicked man, and I don't want to be that guy that my son looks at as do you understand? So I've tried to change my whole kind of outgoings because of what I've been through. It's affecting me differently still.
And you've hit the nail on the head with that about the level of eldership that we have in our communities and society, to be able to go and speak to the OGs, to be able to speak to people that have had through experience, to be able to sit down and spit game, and to be able to share that experience. Granted, I'll use I language, when I was young, sometimes people were telling me things, I didn't want to hear it because I knew best. But then there were certain older cats, the OGs, that certain ones that would sit me down and be like, what do you actually love? Is this a lifestyle that you want? Like, I've had this experience, I've done this, I've served time and this, that and the other. What's your passion? For me, it's music. So how can I, if that's where your energy is, do it. I've made my choices, these are my experiences, and I'm so grateful for the ones that would spit game to me.
Just say you make music. And it's got a lot of negative connotations to it about maybe just being involved in that type of life. Are you then part of the problem, or are you just solving your own problem to help yourself get out of it? Because then when you make that music, there's youngsters listening to it. He's got the...
But then that's responsibility again in the content. No?
Responsibility of who?
I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking my truth. I'll say about stories, things that have happened to me, but I won't always have to talk about a madness. That's my personal artistic perspective.
That's what I think a lot of these rappers should start to do.
I have a range. Like, 1 minute I can talk about consciousness, next thing is I can talk about taking a girl to a strip club. Do you know what I mean? There's a whole range of my artistic expression because I'm speaking in my truth. What's true for me today would change for tomorrow and was different from yesterday. But I know as long as I'm being truthful, calm. I'm expressing.
Yeah.
I also think that it's like art and expression is art and expression. When other people try and live out other people's art and expression, it can get
I think that's when it
dangerous.
goes wrong. Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
bang on the head there.
You know,
Seriously.
because I love music and stuff like that, but I've never tried to be someone that I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I might listen to some tunes and be like, yeah, like I'm really, really gangster, and I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I turn it off and this gone. But I don't get it caught up in it. I don't let it become my reality. But I think maybe for kids who do feel afraid and frightened, it's a persona that they can take on, and it's like almost like a shield.
I think it is. It's a whole persona that you choose to have. It's like a shield. As soon as you go outside, you shield it up like Captain America.
But then
because this is the street version that I need to
But then you can't split the two. You don't know who you are.
No, but then the two it gets
fuses.
combined. It fuses into one person, and then this is you. So you're a knife carrying, soft, nice, family orientated person.
Oh.
Like that does this on road, and then you're home. And then, do you know what I mean? It messes your head, and then you almost get lost in it, and then who even are you anymore?
What about you, Kerry? Have you experienced anything directly? Gun, knife crime, seen it, friends,
I've
girlfriends,
known
partners.
of it, so I felt like before I moved to Bristol I was in a bubble. I wasn't aware that this shit even went on. Like, I was very blind to it. Since living in Bristol, given probably my first couple of years I didn't, but like when I started making new friends and seeing different crowds and being in different environments, I learned that it was very prevalent in Bristol. It was happening like right there and then, and it wasn't something that I could see. For me, my perspective is coming from someone, like I said, I didn't grow up with it. I haven't been exposed to it, but I know that it happens. I see it happen in the community. I've seen plenty, more than I need to see, more than any human needs to see, like loss.
Yeah, so you've not been directly involved, but you know more than know what it's
not
about.
at all. And I will never sit and say, like Jazz was saying, that I'm no person to say it's right or wrong, because I don't know what's led someone to a point where they feel like they've got carried, or what situation led them to have to use it. I don't know what's brought them to that point, but at the same time, for me, I can't justify how people cannot see the value that there is in life, how people can be posting an RIP post to their best friend, a family member one day, but then out ready to go and do the same thing to the next person the next. Like, there needs to be a stopping point.
Is that a question about morality though? Because I feel like, you know,
I still think it comes hand in hand.
Yeah, but the thing is, when we were younger, like, okay, certain things like smoking a cigarette and an elder person comes around the corner, you know, you got to stamp that out. I see a lot of young people don't care anymore.
They don't care.
They just smoke. They just look at you.
Sorry, I have to go back to my very first thing when I was saying about safety. That's why I don't feel safe anymore.
Right, because the level of respect is
level
gone.
of nothing. Everyone, like, for me, I feel like the world is inhuman.
Yeah, but
now.
how did that respect disappear completely so much?
Again, it's generational. I don't always think we're going to be able to have an answer, and that's why I think our perspective is so important, because if each one has one, when all those perspectives are put together, we must be able to find a medium of where we think that we can interject.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Do you know what I mean?
What is it we can do to make a difference? Is there something we can do?
Well,
like, would there be a point that people that feel like they have to live this lifestyle would speak honestly and say what would make them think or act or live differently?
Well,
what could be done to help them?
The conversation we had earlier, Kerry. What would be your thoughts towards that conversation? What you heard on the perspective of the person? Did you catch up?
Yeah, I did.
What would be your perspective, since you're a completely different outsider and you looking in? Obviously, you're in it now, but you weren't always in it. How did that make you feel, hearing the person kind of make you aware of why they have to do what they do and why they have had to live the way they lived?
Overall, for me, it's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. Like, I understand. There's so many different paths and reasonings to every individual.
Things, yeah.
You can never understand it, because everyone's got their own perspectives on right and wrong and how a life should be lived. And that's the thing I think we should all be grateful for, in the sense that we are individual, we are rare, we are special. But at the same time, I think there can't be judgment made because someone looks at something as right and you don't agree with that. So I've, like, when people have done wrong to me, not obviously in these contexts, but in anything, I'll be upset about that for a moment, but I'll be like, do you know what, that's you, that's a decision you've made based on what you felt was the right thing to do, on who you are as a person. So it breaks my heart that people have to go to those extents, and it breaks my heart that there isn't enough out there to help and guide people to go down different paths, and that it isn't, I want to say to raise more awareness, because I think people are aware,
100%. Yeah.
but it's just, I guess, finding what can be done, how can we make a change, because our life is so valuable, and just seeing the value. There's bigger enemies. That's the point to it.
You've hit
that is the
nail.
Yeah,
there is
I had a feeling you were going to say that. I had a
Like,
feeling.
But this is why they're keeping it distracted. This is
Definitely.
this is why the distraction's happening. This is why young people are being
Listen,
taken off the path.
local
Young people are
authorities,
exactly who we need.
governments.
Like
Young people need to dream.
Everything that we do now, even from a basis of like indigenous cultures from all over the world, they had this idea of like the children's fire. Everything that we do now, or everything that our generation does, it ripples to the next 7 generations.
Yeah.
So how can we intend to do that? And another phrase that you're talking about, like backward and forward, where does it stop? Another, I believe it's Confucius quote, is in order to seek, and I'm paraphrasing, revenge, dig 2 graves. Because that cycle will still continue.
Yeah.
And from my perspective of moving through and how I can contribute for this and the trauma for young kids and beyond, like I do what's called men's work. And part of the process is like how to be a better man without being a dick.
Yes.
Conflict resolution, anger management, to be able to be in a space. Like how many times as well, like there's certain men that you can have like a conversation with. You can be surface level, but then you got a few of the boys where you're like, you know what? I feel shit, I feel this. And a few of them will listen, others can pass it off as pussy, what you doing? And to be able to craft a space, again, back to safety, where someone can have this expression and you're good, you're bad, you're ugly and you're beautiful is welcome. That's the space everyone just wants to be seen and heard. Comes back to voice again, to seen, heard, and how can we move forward?
Do we have safe spaces in our communities where young boys and girls can go and talk about these things then?
No. Do you know what? You're talking about space. I have to say it's not about space, it's about people. People don't trust people. So instead, like if I came to you as a person who carried a knife and I'm like, look, I want to get out of this, I don't know where to start. A lot of people are shunned for wanting to do better rather than supported, and I think that is where these people go wrong, because there's no one for them.
Do kids know that there's some adults out there who will talk to them, like that they can come to those adults and say, I want to get out and
of course
get
they
some
do.
help?
Of course
they know it's there.
But then it's being fearful, isn't it? And then if your peers find out, or what if the help doesn't happen, and then everybody
and
finds
this is
out.
what is hard for us to watch. Not a lot of us know better. Some of us know better, and then it's waving, it's rippling, it's waving. It's a domino house. It's all going down. But then the thing is, there's going to be a stop. What's the stop when we're all dead?
No, the fact that we're the fact that we're having these conversations
It's great.
Is a good enough awareness.
For all we know that someone listening to this could listen and be like, actually, I'm the person to be able to go out and make this change and all sorts.
So if you are,
ripples.
please do. Anyone who has access to people that can make some kind of, visual or mental change in somebody, each one help one. Just try to make that awareness as small or as little impact as you can. That'll just be my urge out to
Want
everybody.
the change, be the change.
Be the change
Yes.
if you want the change. Do you know what I mean?
And each one teach one. That's it.
Literally,
That's
that's a big
it's a community,
one.
isn't it?
Yeah, and we're
Like,
all.
We're all one. Like we were saying, energy is energy, and if you can see your friend, and if she's in a really really bad way, that energy touches you. So when I leave my house, I try not to leave with any negativity, because I could see anyone who's having a bad day, and I'm hoping that I can absorb the negative and give you a hello or maybe change it, ask you how you are.
You know what? I think the change is going to come mainly when a lot of the younger generation have a lot more opportunities. Because this is what I think. Most of all these youngsters, they mostly want to be a rapper, or they maybe want to do something to do with sport, and that's just two things. Being a rapper or being involved in sport is just two things.
But
there is thousands of things that they can, because of society and the thing. This is, do you understand what it is?
So how do we teach them?
Journey.
How do we teach kids that you want a proper legit job?
I don't
you
think
want
there's
a career.
method. I just think we have to just keep pumping the awareness into them, because again, when they are so old, there is only so much they will
Not
take
just
in.
awareness, we have to really start making change.
Yeah.
We can keep telling them, no, change has to be made.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
thing
We
is,
have to be the change that they see. And like you were saying about the analogy of us being like plants.
Yeah.
Like for a plant, you water it, you nurture it. Some might grow a little bit skew. You'll train it and all sorts. We are basically like house plants with more complex emotions.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the realest talk.
But it's like I tried to be the example. So like with Sarge, I went self-employed. You know what I mean? And I spent years and years telling him, when you grow up, you are allowed to work for a company for a while.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to work for a company for too long because I want him to have his own business. So I've been drumming that in his head, and I've told him any money in my house got to be legal
But
money.
what about the people that don't have the parents like you, that don't have the knowledge
To
you do?
find their own self-love, because our parents were hurt people. They
But
didn't
a lot
mean
of
to
the
not
kids
teach us
don't
better.
love themselves.
Yeah,
They
you're
don't
right.
even know
But
themselves.
that is
enough
their
to
journey.
love themselves.
But that is the journey to find, isn't it? To find our own value in our life. Because this life in my body, no one else can make me value it. Even though you could tell me every day, Crystal, Jazz, you're lovely. If I don't believe it,
Hence why I'm saying a lot of the, sorry, I'm going to cut you, a lot of the stuff that's going on, it begins with yourself. The crimes, the knives, the anger, the aggression, it starts with us. Before we pick up the knife, we're thinking, why do we need to? So we pick it up and then we go.
yeah, we could be ashamed of ourselves. We could be embarrassed of
Mental.
ourselves. There's so many things that make us not like ourselves. Then we think, well, we need to do something else to be liked or to be protected. And I think telling kids that they're loved, they're special, I think is one of the main
That's true.
things.
Sorry, Kerry.
I'm just
finish
going to
it.
add on to
Yeah,
that. It
go
was
on.
literally just one sentence. Just, I think, a lesson that they have a choice.
And that's
100%.
exactly one of the most biggest reasons why I did this show, to make people realise that they do have a
They have a
voice.
choice.
They have a voice, you have an opinion, and there is a way.
I think it's important to tell kids as well, though, when you're in your groups with your friends and stuff, if your friends are doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can go home.
You are allowed
Just go home.
to just
That's
choose
right.
not to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
go
agree.
home.
But I'm going to have to hold everyone there.
One
Is it
thing I have to say
already?
about you're saying about shame and love, a little science fact for you, in a book called Power versus Force by a guy named Hawkins, the frequency of someone operating at shame, one human being operating at the frequency of love can raise the vibration of 10,000 people operating at the frequency of shame.
Shame.
So
Love wins.
that's
Love wins.
Every time.
Yeah,
That's all we
100%,
are.
yeah.
Essentially, we're all alive because we have an electric pulse going through our heart. Without our heart, nothing beats. Without a beat, we're dead. So we're nothing but heart. So let's take care of that.
So guys, I'm going to wrap this up because we are over, but I hope you have, got what we mean. I hope you understand where we're coming from. We're coming from a place of love, understanding, concern, and, we want to push our perspective out there just to know where us as individuals are coming from, and that, you do have a voice, we do care, and, if you do have nobody, you are more than welcome to step forward to us at The Reasoning. We are not trained professionals, but we are here and we have ears. And, love from us all at The Reasoning. Take care till next week, guys. Take care.